Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to jump up to section 2.5 and we're going to talk about angle relationships. We've already talked about linear pairs. And when you have two angles that form a linear pair, then the angles, well, they add up to 180 degrees. So if I have an angle here at 140, this one has to be 40 degrees. They have to add together to 180. Remember, definition of a linear pair is that they have the same vertex and they share a side. So a linear pair also happens to be supplementary, but just because two angles are supplementary does not make them a linear pair. Okay, so keep that in mind. Linear pair makes them supplementary. Supplementary does not make them a linear pair. All right. Then we've also talked about vertical angles. Those are the ones that are going to be across from each other, such as 1 and 2 or 3 and 4. But let's talk about the measures. If we have vertical angles, then the angles are congruent. Okay, so they have the same measure. So 3 and 4 have the same measure and 1 and 2 do. So we can say angle 1 is congruent to angle 2 and angle 3 is congruent to angle 4. So same question, I guess we'll come back to that. Let's use that knowledge that we just talked about linear pairs and vertical angles here to fill in the rest of this. So we only have one measure, but we can find all the rest of the measures purely based off those two conjectures that we did. So if this angle here is 52, its vertical angle is also 52. But to find our other angle, we know that these two angles together make a linear pair. So they make that line. So they must be supplementary. So we take our 180, we minus our 52, and we end up with 128 degrees. Then we can use our idea about vertical angles here, and this one is also 128 degrees. So 128 degrees and 52 degrees are both those angles. Okay, so purely based off of one angle and the knowledge of vertical angles and linear pairs, we can find the other angles. So, question, if all vertical angles are congruent, does that mean that all congruent angles are vertical? All vertical angles are congruent. So are all congruent angles vertical? No. No, if two angles are congruent, that does not automatically go. They are vertical angles. So just keep in mind that just because my conjecture works one direction does not mean it works the other. Okay, just because vertical angles are congruent doesn't mean congruent angles are vertical. So short and sweet with that, ladies and gentlemen. Here you go. And this is your 2-5 assignment. And we'll see you then.